Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. While we're waiting for the big crowds to come, we're going to finish chanting a little bit. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Namayom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Utale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Tai Go Pramanandi, Hari Hari Bo. So, could we do two things? Is it possible we could open the door so they don't have to ring the bell? And can we disconnect the phone or turn the ringer down or something? So it doesn't, so we don't keep getting wrung out while we're giving class. And we're going to do, hopefully we're going to do questions and answers, Alexandria and Jeremy and Antonio and Junie and whoever else is here. Let's see if anyone else is on Mayapur TV. Usually I do questions and answers at home programs. Well, if you have any questions. If you don't, we'll read something, but if you do have questions, you can ask them. I'll check you on chat on Krishna.com. It's a little easier to read. Questions about anything in the universe that pertain to Krishna consciousness. If there's anything on your mind, anything that's philosophically you're not clear about, anything you're confused about or having problems with, or just want to understand something better, or you don't understand it at all, you want to understand it from the ground up, then you can ask questions. So we'll give you a minute. It's like a radio show, you know, the radio hosts, they talk, they're waiting for people to call, and they, you know, talk about some issue, how horrible it is, and they get all excited about it, how bad it is and how terrible it is, and they tell you what they think, and they just keep basically saying the same thing over and over again until somebody calls in. So that's what I'm doing right now. If there's anything you want to talk about, anything on your mind, any questions you have, just ask now. Otherwise, I might have to talk about what I'm thinking about, which may not at all relate to you whatsoever. Probably will relate to you, but anyway. Oh, Alexandria wants to know why you shouldn't eat onions and garlic. That's an easy question to answer. You know why we shouldn't eat onions and garlic? Because if we get around anybody, they're going to have to leave. That's only part of the answer. Coconut water. I have a little story for you. You know how before we eat, you do cheers? Well, what they used to do is they'd all put up their glass and they would pour a little from their glass in everybody's glass, because they used to be afraid they might poison one another. And then that way, if they put it in everyone's glass, then they make sure they weren't poisoning one another. And then they just did cheers. Hare Krishna. Damodar Das is back in action. So we have a question here from the internet. Why don't we eat onions or garlic? There's a Ayurvedic doctor, his name is Dr. Mishra, I believe. He's in Santa Barbara. And he mentioned that onions and garlic are the blood of Rahu. But aside from that, it produces a profound effect on your consciousness and body of passion and ignorance. So, different foods affect us differently. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't allow his disciples to eat tamarind. Who knew that? It's right there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Tamarind is better than Viagra. Nobody knows that. You can bottle it and sell it for 100 times more than it's worth. Put it in capsules. Yes, it's true. So actually tamarind excites sex desire. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said that urd dal and kidney beans were non-vegetarian. Because what?
You had kidney beans too?
He said because they have so much protein. So it'll affect the body, it'll agitate one sexually. And garlic also. And it will also create an effect of ignorance on the consciousness to bring it down, 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 and down even further. So there's certain foods that generally Vaishnavas don't eat. Those two especially. Now if you're attached to eating them, I don't know what to say. Other than I hope you live alone, because people around you won't be too happy. Now, some people say garlic is healthy, but lately they're finding actually it's toxic. If you take too much, it's got toxic substances, chemicals. So, traditionally yogis did not take onions and garlic. That's just because of the effect it had. Passion and ignorance. Now you got more than you bargained for. Now you can't have onions and garlic. You have doubts about mushrooms, because mushrooms are said to have ignorant effect. Now what are you going to do about tamarind? Because if you go to the Hare Krishna temple, they'll serve tamarind. What to speak of kidney beans and urd dal poppers. Now you're completely ruined. Your life is totally ruined now. You can have papadoms. Anyway, we eat these. What to speak of South Indians, urd dal, in all their idlis and whatever else. So don't eat much of that. That's all I know about onions and garlic. It's not yogi food. Yogi foods are in the mode of goodness. Onions and garlic are not in the mode of goodness. Now, I want to tell you something really interesting that Damodar would like to hear. Some devotees take second initiation and they get the Pancharatiki mantras, and some devotees take Upanayanam and they get the Gayatri mantra. But If you're not in the mode of ignorance, the mantras don't work. I mean, if you're not in the mode of goodness, the mantras don't work. So you have to be in the mode of goodness, even for the mantra to work. So, as devotees, I think a broader answer to this question is cultivate goodness, sattva gun, because sattva is the context in which we can best execute Krishna consciousness. Just like we say varnashram, Vedic culture, it's not absolutely essential, but it's generally the best, most conducive. So we use it, right? Like if you're cooking and you want to scrape the bottom of the pot, a metal spoon is better than a wood spoon, right? You ever try to scrape the bottom of the wood spoon? Because it's not sharp, right? But if you can do it with a wood spoon, if you figure it out, okay. But generally a metal spoon's better. So sattva gun is generally better for Krishna consciousness because it's closer to Krishna. So we cultivate sattva gun, onions and garlic cultivate another gun. That's the basic, that's the basic answer philosophically. Who here likes onions and garlic? Raise your hand. Who here likes to stay up late and get up late? See, it's not the mode of goodness. See, we cultivate mode. If you want to be Krishna conscious, mode of goodness. Cultivate it. Be clean. Get up early. Be organized. That's mode of goodness, right? You'll be more. It's just naturally easier to be Krishna conscious in the mode of goodness, right? Clean, right? Clean. Damodar needs to be clean. I have to remind him. 5 times a day you can clean your house. We'll never be clean enough. Especially for deity worship, one must be very clean. Right? Yes. So, now, here's another answer to the onion and garlic dilemma. Who are you going to offer it to if you want to eat it? Sometimes this question comes up, well, should I eat this or that? Then the answer is, who are you going to offer it to? Because Krishna doesn't eat it. Right? So Krishna doesn't eat onions and garlic, so we offer things that Krishna likes. Food's in the mode of goodness, so who are you going to offer it to? Then you have to go through your shastras and find what demigod likes onions and garlic. And you're going to offer it to that demigod. But then it's not Krishna prasadam. So now what? Or you just offer it without the onions and garlic and then throw it in later. No. Now, another thing, very interesting, that I was just listening to a lecture, and Prabhupada explained about what the British did in India. And the question came up to Prabhupada and said, people, they look at us and then they criticize India and they say, well, you're following Indian culture, look at India. And Prabhupada said, what you see today is not Indian culture. That was the Westerners who came and ruined it. He said all these things, meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, all this stuff, he said that was not known in traditional Indian culture, at least generally for the people. Maybe in some circles, but generally he said no. That was brought in by the Westerners. And then he said, even tea drinking, they never drank tea. That was brought by the British. Tea drinking was not a thing that Indians did. Now Indians do it. And Prabhupada explained why. He said the British went out, and in the parks and different places throughout India, they served out free tea. Just like Chaturmasya Palak. Wow. It's getting heavy here. Just like Prabhupada said, just like we serve out prasadam, they served out tea. And they said, tea is very refreshing, it's very healthy, it's this and that. So Prabhupada said they got everyone addicted to tea. That was one example. He said, these things, and the boy said, tea? They didn't used to drink tea? He said, no, that was the British. He explained how they did it. Right? So, now if you drink tea, I think we talked about this, maybe. We talked about it last week in the Japa workshop, but there's a lady who wants to come. We're doing retreats now in India, and we do a 1-week retreat in Mayapur. So anybody out there wants to come can come. we'll do it different times of the year in Mayapur. So we have a regular time that we do it in the spring and the fall, and then we have other times we'll just organize if there's enough people or one group, like everyone from Rochester wants to come, then we go. We set up a week like that. So this one lady wrote us and said, is it possible that if I go there I can drink tea? I said, why? She said, because if I don't drink tea, I'll have withdrawal. Wow. I never drank tea in my life or coffee, so I wasn't aware of that. I didn't, Yeah, it's amazing. So no coffee, no caffeine. There explains that. It's actually addictive. Right? So, different foods and different modes, and then we're also in different modes. If we're in the mode of passion and we eat something in the mode of passion, double trouble. Right? Anyway, I hope, Alexander, you're not attached to onions and garlic. I know they're good in Italian food. Just use hing to replace it. Aswatita. That's the best we can do. Not much, just a little. Okay, any other questions? Hear me, but there's no video. That's not right. No, there's video. Should be, anyway. I'm doing everything right from my side, so I'm innocent. It should be okay. No? Anyone else having a problem with the video? Yeah. It's not yogi food. Generally, what I was a young devotee and they said onions and garlic, they said it arouses sex desire. There's a lot of things that arouse sex desire. Actually, we could make a whole list to add to onions and garlic. Like watching television, that arouses sex desire. Listening to the radio, that arouses sex desire. I was driving last night from New Jersey, Edison, New Jersey to Rochester. So I was listening. For about 4 hours I was listening to lectures. A lot of very esoteric things. Very interesting things about what Krishna does and why he does it. Which maybe I'll tell you later. And then I was getting it was like, I was still driving. It was like the last hour. It was 9:30 at night and I was getting a little kind of spaced out. So when I get in that situation, I turn on the radio, listen to some talk show or something to try to wake up. When I was younger, rock and roll used to wake me up, but now I'm older. Hopefully I'm more Krishna conscious. When I hear it, it makes me vomit. So it doesn't even work on me anymore. So I turn on the radio, right? And there's this interview about some rap song, interview with two commentators and they're talking about a rap song that's really popular. And it's got very explicit lyrics that minimize women. So there's one side is arguing against the lyrics, one side is arguing for the lyrics, that it's okay. They have different reasons, right? So then they say, well, let's play a little cut from the song, like to see why this is so controversial. And I can't tell you the lyrics because I might get thrown off the internet if I do. So bad. It's all about sex, just explicit about sex. So listen to the radio. What eventually you're going to hear about? What watch television. I mean, everything in Western society is a sexual agitate sex. Look at a magazine. Amazing. I mean, let me give you some perspective. This may sound archaic, old-fashioned, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. I don't know if I told you this before, but it's very interesting. When the motion picture camera, I guess 8mm, 16, whatever it is, when it first came out, it was about 1903 or something like that. It first came out. So what they did And you can watch this if you want on YouTube. This was like, you imagine the motion picture, the motion picture camera developed. This was like incredible, or whenever it was, turn of the century. So they mounted a motion picture camera on a trolley car in San Francisco going down Mission Avenue, which is like the main street of downtown San Francisco. So you get to drive, it's like you're driving on the trolley car, the Kali-trar. You're driving on the trolley car, but it's like 1903, right? So you're driving down the street, there's horse and carriages, there's some cars. It's worse than India. There's no traffic because they're not used to traffic yet, because the cars, this was just, a few years after cars came out. But that's not the point to watch. If you see all the people on the street waiting for the trolley or crossing the street, and every woman has a hat, has a dress down to her ankles, it comes up to here, it has a collar that comes up to here, and it's long sleeve. Right? So we're talking what, like 110 years ago, more or less, right? And every woman is black. Every guy's got a hat and a suit, and it's black also. And the kids have vests, and that's how they dress. But interestingly, that's how the women dress. Now, I don't know if you're into yoga, but if you happen to have ever seen the Yoga Journal, or happen to go to a store and look at the Yoga Journal, look at the Yoga Journal, as this is especially good for guys, but girls, you can do it also just to get perspective, and imagine it's 1903 and you're going through the Yoga Journal. Has anyone ever seen a Yoga Journal? It's got a lot of pictures in women in yoga clothes. In fact, it's got one picture of a woman with no clothes in an advertisement for something you put on your hands and feet, and it's like a mat, but you don't need a mat, you won't slip. And then it's got women in their yoga clothes. If this were 1903, that magazine would be called pornography, pretty much. I don't think it would be legal on the market. So it just shows you how much our society has changed, and we're so, if you're a brahmachari practicing celibacy, you notice all these things because your sheet is clean, so you notice. If your sheet is not clean, you don't notice, or you enjoy it, you like it. So, what to speak of onions and garlic? Everywhere you look, it's either passion or ignorance, isn't it? Like everything's onions and garlic in this society. It seems like, isn't it? So we have to be. So you don't. It's not just what you eat, but you're eating through your eyes and you're eating through your ears. What we see, what we hear, it's totally affecting our consciousness. Everything's affecting our consciousness, right? It's insidious. It's subtle. And we're being manipulated all the time, right? If we're not being manipulated by advertisements, somebody's wearing a T-shirt with an advertisement, or it says something that'll manipulate your consciousness. So what to speak of onions and garlic? It's like onions and garlic are falling from the sky. It's everywhere. What we're seeing, what we're hearing, tasting, eating, it's all affecting us. Sometimes somebody comes to Krishna consciousness. I was just listening to a lecture, and there's a girl, the class was in Mayapur, and there's a girl there, she's a young devotee. I don't know how long she's been a devotee, and she's first time in Mayapur, and she's asking questions about being happy. Is it okay to be happy as a devotee? And then the person giving the lecture said, "Why, you're worried that you're happy?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I mean, is that okay? It's like, is that wrong?" And he said, you're happy because Krishna's happy, then that's fine. You're making Krishna happy. You're happy in Krishna.
And she said, I don't know, but ever since I became a devotee, I'm just so blissful, I'm so happy. Why? Because she moved in the temple and she's not connected with the outside world. So naturally it's blissful, because that's all you're getting, right? You connect too much with the outside world, then you're getting all this other stuff. And then what happens? Then you have to fight it. It's like you're paddling upstream and you have weights on your back. It's like sometimes we make it really difficult for ourselves. I don't know if you do that for yourself, but sometimes we make it difficult for yourself. You want to make it difficult for yourself to be Krishna conscious? Just watch television every night. That'll really do it. Listen to the radio for a few hours. Read papers for a few hours. That'll make it really difficult for you. Guaranteed. I promise you. Eat some onions and garlic on the side. It'll be really difficult. So it'll be like you're cleaning the sheet and you're throwing mud on it. And then the interesting thing is, sometimes we do that and then the devotee says, that's so hard to be Krishna conscious. Kind of funny, right? It's like the big fat guy who eats potato chips all day and ice cream and pizza. And he never exercises. And he said, it's so hard to lose weight. Right? I just can't figure it out. I don't know how to lose weight, Well, maybe you ought to exercise. Maybe you ought to eat a salad once in a while. Right? So sometimes we do the same thing. I just don't know. It's so hard to be Krishna conscious. Well, it's not hard when you're doing Krishna conscious things. Have you ever noticed how when there's a program and then we're all chanting and we're all hearing about Krishna, everybody's very blissful. Even the people that aren't normally blissful, they're also blissful. Even the guy or the lady that was having a hard time before they came to the temple and was worried about this or that, when they come to the program, especially if it's a nice program, a good speaker, they become quite blissful. If it's a really good speaker and he's telling stories and everyone's absorbed in the story, then they could be laughing and relishing, right? Because that's the nature of Krishna consciousness. And then we go out and we don't do that, and then we're wondering why we're having trouble. Wonder why I'm not healthy. What did you eat today? Well, I had 3 bags of potato chips and 2 ice cream cones and a piece of pizza and a Mac and a double Mac. Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm not healthy. All I do is eat at McDonald's every day. Oh, that's why you're not healthy. Right? I don't know I'm not Krishna conscious. All I do is watch television. I read the newspaper and, I say my prayers for 2 minutes a day. I don't know what's wrong. Right? It doesn't work like that. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, whatever you say, whatever you eat, it affects you. Now, when one wants to progress spiritually, they change what they eat, they change what they see, they change what they hear, they change what they talk about. Because they know this. They know how they get affected. Now, Prabhupada was like a doctor, and he took his disciples who were like patients, and he said, this is what you need to do. Your doctor, if you're very ill, he'll put you on a regimen, right? Eat this, don't eat this, take this medicine, this many times a day, do these exercises, like that. You get it. Very, very, very strict. Now, you could think, oh, my doctor's a fanatic. He's just fanatical. Why do I have to do all this? He's a fanatic. Right? So you could look at Prabhupada's instructions, and you could say the same thing. Why was Prabhupada so strict? He was very strict. Why was he so? Because he's the doctor, and we're the patient. And he said, this is what you need to do. Don't eat this, eat that. Don't say this, say that. Don't hear this, hear that. Don't watch this, watch that. You want to be Krishna conscious, and you're watching a Hindi movie about some boy and girl trying to get married, right? What does that do to your mind? Not good. Not if you want to be Krishna conscious. If you want to stay in the material world, it's very good. It'll keep you here for lifetimes. Because that's why we're here. To enjoy, men want to enjoy women, and women want to enjoy men. So, and we're not even smart enough to realize that we don't really enjoy those things. When do you get the most enjoyment out of the opposite sex? When you go to a movie and watch make-believe people making believe that they're enjoying. You go, I really like this. This is giving me pleasure. Right? Why would you have to, if you're so happy in your love life, why do you have to watch someone else's love life? Right? Isn't it? So we have to be smart. Okay. Chaturmasya Palak says, okay, Chaturmasya Palak, I have a good one for you about Chaturmasya. I don't know if I'll get thrown out of the Hare Krishna movement for saying this or be considered an atheist. But this month, we're not supposed to eat green leafy vegetables. And our friend Achyuta Gopal said, because this time of year, green leafy vegetables have bugs in them. So that's the Chaturmasya. Right? That's the Chaturmasya because they have bugs. Of course, our green leafies don't have bugs. But I have another idea. Chaturmasya is for austerity. What if you don't like green leafy vegetables? Then what's the austerity of not eating them? So Damodar doesn't like them, so his austerity, he should eat them this month. That will be his austerity. So his Chaturmasya is to eat green leafies. Because he doesn't like them. Because austerity is to do something you don't like. So like, okay, it used to be, back in the day, it used to be don't eat spinach. Which was an austerity for me. I like spinach, but there's a lot of green leafy vegetables I don't like. So if I eat them, that's austerity. Anyway, that was just a side point about Chaturmasya, which was traditionally done by the itinerant preachers, sadhus, because during the rainy season they couldn't travel, so the traveling and preaching was their austerity, so then they stayed in one place and they did austerity. And one of the things they did was eat khichdi with no spices. And they'd only eat once a day, and they'd eat it like a dog with their mouth, without their hands. And then once they brought their head up to an upright position, they had to stop eating. So they had to bend over and eat like this, like lick it up. That was the austerity they did. Because they weren't doing any other austerities. And so they wanted to become purified. So for us, of course, our austerity is preaching. But let's see what Chaturmasya Palak has. Even by looking at a girl, sex desire can arise even if she is dressed totally, modestly. Isn't it just the attraction of the sexes? It depends how you're looking at her. If you're trying to strip her clothes off in your mind, yeah, you'll be disturbed. But if her clothes are already off, you have less of a chance. But women should understand also how their bodies affect men. And so, that's good. Women should act in a way that they don't disturb men's minds, and men should act in a way that they don't disturb women's minds. That's just culture. So, women will dress in a way that they won't disturb men's minds, and vice versa. But yes, if the desire is there in your heart, then even if they're dressed nicely, you may be disturbed. But hopefully you can do a little better than that. Okay. That was kind of a long answer for onions and garlic, wasn't it? So we have another question? Or should I ask you? See, if you don't have questions, then I have to ask you questions. And if you don't get the answer right, you don't get prasadam. So you better answer a question that I don't have to ask you. You have a question? Yes.
So we should avoid kidney beans and all other stuff. So which?
But it's not known. It's not well known. It's just temples don't avoid it. But high protein content food, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur considered to be non-vegetarian because meat has high protein, and high protein arouses sexual desire. So what's the substitute? Take your next birth in America and you won't be attached to Urdal in your idlis, I don't know, in your poppers. Gurnish is asking about Chaturmasya. Is it alright not to follow? You know, honestly, I don't know, because we never followed it in the beginning and then it came up. But like I say, you know, what you say, this month don't take yogurt. What if 12 months a year you don't take yogurt? What austerity is that? So, you know, just living in America is austere enough. Just living in Kali Yuga is pretty austere. You could do some austerity. Anyway, that's the austerity. 1 month no greens, 1 month no milk, 1 month no yogurt, and 1 month no urdal, right? So you can follow. My wife fed me greens the other day, so that means I didn't follow. But I didn't like them, so I considered it a greater austerity to eat them. It was kale or something, half-cooked kale. That's the way they eat it. It was an austerity to eat it, so that was my Chaturmasya austerity, to eat it. And Damodar could eat it also. But I'm not an authority on Chaturmasya, because Prabhupada didn't talk much about it. You know, the thing is that Prabhupada said austerity is good, so anything you can give up that you're attached to or you like, that's good. It helps you, self-discipline. So sometimes we do these austerities. The month of Damodar, we do austerities. So it's good. You give up something you're attached to, because it'll help you in spiritual life. Not that you give it up because you're attached to and you could use it and it'll help you, but something something you just like physically. If you give it up, it's an austerity. You get some mercy. So that's the idea. So
what if Prabhuji, if we tempt towards it, if we give up something and after some time we attempt to tempt it,
you give it up and then you attempt to
we get tempted, right?
tempted by it. Then what do? Find something else to give up that you won't get so tempted by. But normally what you do is you set an intention you set a strong intention before you start. So if you get tempted by it, it's probably because your intention to do it wasn't that strong to start with. Like, this month I won't take sugar, or this month I won't take salt, or this month I'll get up every morning at 4 o'clock. Something like that. So if you make a vow strongly, then you'll follow it. If you kind of made it but didn't really make it, then you'll get more. You'll be tempted by it. But if you make the vow, it doesn't matter if you're tempted by it because you're not going to do it. Right? That's why you take a vow. So even if you do get tempted, it won't bother you. But you have to actually take the vow. Okay, this month this is what I'm going to do. So we've been taught in our scripture, don't take a vow you don't think you can make. So take one you can make. Because if you can't make it, it's not good. But you take a lesser vow you can follow than a greater vow and you can't make it, generally. At least from Krishna's perspective. He'll appreciate that more. But, in the progress of spiritual life, you naturally give up things you're attached to because they're not helping you, and you can't use them in Krishna consciousness, so you give them up. So that's naturally part of the process. So, but when we make a specific vow to give up something for a week or a month, then it may be something that is difficult for us to give up. And the reason we give it up for that month is because we like it. And so that is pleasing to Krishna if you give up something that you like. You're attached to something. Even you can give up thoughts that you're attached to. So you're attached to thinking of something that will give you pleasure, because thoughts give us pleasure, right? That's why we have thoughts, to give us pleasure. So you can, in your mind you can think about all kinds of pleasing things you could never do, right? You could think about being rich. You could think about having so many homes all around the world. You could think about enjoying with all kinds of people. So you think of all kinds of theories and ideas, and you could enjoy them. So sometimes when we're thinking of something that's not helping our Krishna consciousness, but we're attached to thinking about it, like maybe you don't like somebody and you're attached to thinking about how much you don't like them, then it's service to Krishna to give up those thoughts. And then it's really good for you. Just give it up. Right? You ever have a thought you shouldn't be thinking of, that you're attached to? At that moment you can think, I can give this thought up for Krishna. That's a sacrifice for Krishna. Sarva dharma. So I'm gonna not only surrender all my dharmas, I'm gonna surrender these thoughts also. So that's good. So that's why you take a vow. Something that you are tempted by, you said, this month I'm not going to do it. So you make a determination. It's only 30 days, not the end of the world. On the 31st day or the 32nd day, you can go back to it. I'm not going to eat any sweets. Month of Damodar, I won't eat any sweets. That'd be hard. For me, it'd be hard. All I eat is sweets. In the morning I eat fruit. Then I finish the fruit with dates. And after lunch I eat an apple, which is sweet. And then I eat yogurt with breakfast, which is sweet. So that's like huge austerity for me. My body likes sweet things. So if I say, okay, no sweets, wow, big austerity. So that's good. Then self-discipline, self-control.
Question. Like when we are talking about austerity, you are talking about self-discipline, or is it for pleasing Krishna?
The self-discipline should only be in relation to pleasing Krishna, not because if it's not connected to Krishna, then it won't help you. It's like everything that we try to accomplish in bhakti is in connection with Krishna. Because Narada Muni, he wants there's a verse, and he said, what's the use of austerities if it doesn't make you Krishna conscious? And then he said, and if you're Krishna conscious, then what's the use of austerity? Because now you've achieved the goal. So the purpose of austerity is to make you Krishna conscious. If you're just doing it to become renounced, then why do you want to be renounced? Generally you want to be renounced so you can gain liberation. Or you want to be renounced because you realize that sense gratification causes suffering, so I'll be renounced so I won't suffer. So it's all about you. So it looks very spiritual, and in a broad sense we can say it's spiritual, but it's not about pleasing Krishna. You can be self-realized, you can realize you're a spiritual being, but Brahmabhuta, Prasanatma, could even be satisfied spiritually within yourself, but it doesn't mean your consciousness is for pleasing Krishna. You may just be concerned about your own consciousness. So, just like you may also practice good qualities, but they should be in relation to Krishna. Like, you can do, and you say, I want to be humble, so I'm going to do an austerity. I'm going to stand outside by the doorway and lay down so people come and kick me in the head when they walk in the house. Or I'm going to stand in front of the door here when all the devotees come tonight, they'll kick me in the head. And that way I'll become humble. But that's not exactly how we do it. We express humility in relation to other devotees in relationships and in service to Guru and Krishna. So that humility now, it's connected within service. It's not humility for the sake of humility. Because if I'm humble, it's good for my spiritual life. But why do you want it good for your spiritual life? So I can be happy. So where's Krishna? Well, we don't really need him. We're just, into being humble because, or I'll be humble because it's the right thing to do. My mother said to be humble, so, if I'm humble, I won't have any problems with her and people will like me. And so that's different, right? So you can do an austerity. It might be austere for you to be humble because maybe you're a proud person. But then you'll become humble. You'll take the austerity, then you'll say, I actually felt good being humble. Okay, so it's all about feeling good. It's the same. It's just the same. So people who are into spiritual life like that, they're more elevated than just gross materialists, but the consciousness is the same. They realize, okay, you can't be happy materially, so they're better. Knowledge is better than fruitive action. So now they know that. So now what do? They do things to make them happy spiritually. So the idea of putting themselves in the center is still the same as the fruitive worker. So the consciousness is still the same, it's just they're doing it differently. But bhakti is all about what pleases Krishna. So you do an austerity in relation to Krishna. Otherwise we're doing so many austerities. You work all day, that's an austerity. If it's for Krishna, then you get spiritual benefit and you'll be blissful. If it's just to make money for yourself, so you can upgrade yourself materially, then it's for you. But it's still austerity, right? You can climb Mount Everest. That's really austere. But it's not like when you get to the top, you'll be ghost. Now I'm Krishna conscious. I did more austerity than any sadhu. I climbed Mount Everest. No. Why'd you climb Mount Everest? So you could be recognized as one who climbed Mount Everest.
Smart.
Yeah. Right? But it's, you might have done more austerity than any sadhu's ever done to climb Mount Everest. But why did you do it? It was for yourself. So Prabhupada translated austerity as bodily inconvenience for spiritual advancement. Ultimately, bodily inconvenience for pleasing Krishna. Krishna's the goal. There's so many verses. Krishna's the goal of a vrat, the goal of tapasya. That's bhakti. Everything, you connect it. Otherwise, you could be a humble person, but that in and of itself will not help you in your spiritual life unless the goal of it is to please Krishna. So, life's already austere. Living in the material world's austere. Driving in Mumbai at 10 o'clock in the morning is very austere, because you go about 6 miles an hour on the average. It takes you, but to go an hour, go 6 miles, takes you an hour, or an hour and a half. That's austere. Unless you like sitting in a car in a hot city with polluted air and people honking their horns. But most people don't like that. So that's, there's plenty of austerity. You don't have to look for it. And what Prabhupada said for us, he said that trying to help other people become Krishna conscious is the greatest austerity, because you'll have to tolerate so many insults, people aren't interested. Right? You'll make personal sacrifice, you'll try so hard, no one will respond. So that's the greatest austerity. If you want to do austerity, do that one. Try to convince somebody they should be Krishna conscious. Go somewhere, help people. Go out of your way. Okay. Giving up, Guru Nisha says giving up thoughts. No, just the bad ones. Don't give up, you can't give up thoughts. Just give up the bad ones when they come. Guru Nisha wants the blessing to not follow Chaturmasya. No, I won't give you that blessing. But if you don't want to follow, then at least eat something you don't like, or give up something else you don't like. You don't like green, you like you don't like green leafies, all right, give up something you like. That's the point. But, for us, I mean, what is our austerity? It's chanting our rounds, it's rising early, like that, being clean. This is all austerity. Right? Reading the Srimad Bhagavatam when you'd rather watch television. That's an austerity. Right?
Is austerity different than following other things like in Krishna consciousness they say like okay we have to do like kirtan and all those things, meeting people.
Yeah.
So is it different than that?
It is in the sense that when you're more advanced in Krishna consciousness, none of these things are difficult. They're all pleasing and relishable.
Okay.
This is, kirtan is what you want to do. It's pleasing, it's relishable, it's nectar. Meeting other people is pleasing, it's nectar. It's only, these things may not be so pleasing in lower stages. So you could call that an austerity, but technically it's called sadhana bhakti. But, generally as the word austerity is used in the Vedas, it's like somebody in the middle of the summer builds a fire and then sits next to it. Or in the middle of the winter, he goes into ice cold water and does his meditation. Right? But we don't do that. That's again austerity for austerity's sake. Okay, I'll detach myself from my body. But the benefit of that austerity you get by doing bhakti. So in that sense, we don't really look at bhakti as austere. If we see it as austere, it just means we don't have a taste. But the activity in itself is not austere. Like kirtan's not really austere, or talking to people is not austere. It's not like bathing in a cold river, like that, physical, putting yourself through physical pain. It's not like that. And on the higher level of devotional service, there is no austerity, because a devotee, it's like, if you, let's say your mother's sick, right? And you have to take her to the hospital, and you have to stay in the hospital, and you have to be with her. And then she gets out of the hospital, you take her home, you take care of her. You don't think, oh, this is so austere, I wish I didn't have to do this. No, you don't even think like it. You just think, my mother's sick, she's seriously ill. That's all you're thinking about is just getting her better. So that's for a devotee, he doesn't really see austerity. It's Krishna's service. It's like, it's pleasurable or so-called not pleasurable. It's Krishna's service. It's just, this is what we have to do. Just like, let's say we wanted to organize a big Janmashtami festival here in Rochester and rent, let's say, like some high school auditorium. It could seat 1,000 people, let's say. And so you're all going to go out. You all say, okay, we'll each try to get 100 people. There's 10 of us, we each try to get 100 people. And then you have a committee who's going to organize the entertainment, who's going to raise the funds, who's going to advertise, like that. So, will there be austerities? Austerity of time, you'll have to find the time. You'll have to meet, maybe you don't agree on everything, and you'll have to, you're going to have to do the work. Someone's going to have to do the layout. You have to find somebody, you don't know anybody, then you have to pay somebody. That's austere because you have to give them money from your pocket, But because it's for Janmashtami, because it's for Krishna's service, nobody's going to think it's austere. You're going to be thinking about, we want to do the nice festival, right? So you don't think, oh, this is so austere. I had to drive down to the Kinko's to get this printed. So austere. Driving in this car is so austere. If you think that way, then that's very low level. But if you're doing it for Krishna to please him, you don't think. It's just service. That's what it is. You don't think of it as austerity, If it's freezing cold, you might say, oh, it's really austere out here. But the service itself is not austere. I went through a lot of austerities to do the service, but you don't feel it as painful. I do that all the time. I won't get enough rest, and I'll fly somewhere else. I'll do programs, and I'll be exhausted. But I'm blissful. But if I set myself back, I could say, that was austere. That plane flight was austere. I was next to a guy and all he did was drink wine for the whole flight, and sleep and snore, and it smelled like alcohol. That's austere. I'm compartmentalizing that trip was austere, but devotional service we won't think is an austerity. There may be austerities within it, but overall you won't think of it as an austerity. You just do it because you want to serve Krishna. So you're not going to say, okay, that's it, I'm never flying on a plane again. You're just going to stay in one place now and never go anywhere. No, you won't think like that. Does that make sense? So what's the use of austerity if you're not Krishna conscious? If you're Krishna conscious, what's the use of austerity? That's how you get out of austerity, with that one verse. But you have to be Krishna conscious. Prabhupada did all kinds of austerity for preaching. But he never said, I'm doing austerity. I'm serving Krishna. Austerity is for other yoga practices. Self-discipline, all this. You can stare at a wall for 6 hours. That's austere. That'll help you control your mind. But now what do you do that your mind's controlled? You think of Krishna. That's what you're supposed to do. But if you just just get your mind blank, okay, now what? What was the point? Now you're blank. Right? You know about being blank? He teaches Buddhism, so he knows about being blank. Right? Stare at a candle, calm your mind. Okay, now it's calm. Now what? Now you can actually do something good because you've got your mind calm. Now you can chant. Now you can hear. Right? But so many people just, they do the austerity, they do the calming. Why? Because it feels good to be calm. Oh, I feel so peaceful now. Some ladies came to Prabhupada and they said, we do meditation, we feel peaceful. And Prabhupada said, we're not interested in peace. Not that Prabhupada didn't mean not that we're not interested in calming down our sensual desire. He didn't mean it that way, in terms, because we may use the word peace like I'm peaceful in the sense that I'm not agitated by sensual desires or sense objects. So he didn't mean it in that sense. He meant it in the sense they were using it, we feel peaceful. So Prabhupada said, our goal is, basically he was saying, our goal is not to feel peaceful. But so many people will look at spiritual life and say, the goal is to, do you feel peaceful? Are you happy? That's not the goal. The goal is to please Krishna. If I need to feel peaceful or be peaceful to please Krishna, okay. Prabhupada did say, you need to be peaceful. But what did he mean? Calm, sensual, just calm down. Maybe you need to be married, so you're peaceful, so now you can serve Krishna. So, peaceful not because then I'll be happy. No, peaceful so then I can be stable and grounded and steady so I can serve Krishna. That's the difference, right? So you have so many spiritual people and they're meditating and they feel really good. It's all about how I feel, but that's not spiritual life. At least that's not bhakti. Bhakti's not about how you feel. You will feel good, but that's not the reason you do it, to feel good. You'll naturally feel good if you serve Krishna, but you do it to please Krishna. Right? If it's just to feel good, then what kind of relationship is that? That's like a husband and wife, they get together because they want to feel good. And what happens when they don't feel good? Divorce court, right? I don't feel good anymore, so what do? Get divorced. What else? Right? So I want to feel good. I don't need God. I'll try to feel good without God. Get divorced. Good marriage is not about you feel good, it's about duty. You do this because it's the right thing. The right thing is to serve Krishna, so that's why we do it. Whether we like it or not. But if we do it, we will like it, eventually. That's what bhakti is about, and that's what separates it from other religions which are materially contaminated, or materially motivated. And that's why in the Bhagavatam, right in the 2nd verse or 3rd verse, dharma praujito kaitavoto paramo niratsaranam satam, said this book stated the purpose of the Bhagavatam. What's the purpose? It's just to expound pure bhakti. Not cheating religion. So it describes other religions as cheating religion, because you're not getting the pure thing. You're getting, okay, do this religious practice. It'll give you benefit, materially or spiritually. But this is only teaching you how to please Krishna, because that's the highest thing. Haritoshana. The highest thing is to please Krishna. Dharma sanustitam pumsam vishaksena kadasava. No, that's another verse. But in that second chapter of Bhagavatam, that verse is there. And then Prabhupada said, how do you evaluate, or other acharyas said, how do you evaluate the value of anything? Evaluate it on how much it pleases Krishna. Is this any good? Can you use it to please Krishna? No, it's terrible. No, but it's a Rolls Royce. Throw it in the junkyard. We can't use it. No. If we can figure out how to use it for Krishna, that's very nice. If you can't figure out how to use your Rolls Royce for Krishna, then your old 1968 Volkswagen, or 65, I had a 65 when I was young. Your 1965 Volkswagen is better than the Rolls Royce, because you're using it for Krishna. You know? Or you're a multi-billionaire. What's the value of all your money? Say, no, it has value. But we say, unless you use it for Krishna, it doesn't. In and of itself, it seems to have value. But in the spiritual sense, no. If it can't use it for pleasing Krishna, then it's just we're going to entangle you again in the material world. So what's the point? You got rich in this life and you took another birth. So is money good? Money's good when you engage in a Krishna service. Is anything good in Krishna service? Otherwise, okay, it's a lot of money, but what's the good? What's the use? Someone's going to spend it on themselves. Or they're going to spend it on helping people, but if they don't help the people get out of the material world, then ultimately it's not good. So that's why Krishnadas Kaviraj in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he said, if you think in this world something's good or bad and it's not in relation to Krishna, it's wrong. Because it's just material. Oh, it's good. That's a beautiful house. Yes, it is beautiful. And what's going on inside the house? Well, they just had hamburgers today. You know, they're drinking wine now. What to speak of other unmentionable things they're going to do tonight. So what's so good about that house? Well, it's got nice windows. I like the color they painted the house. It's got nice molding. Okay. We can say all these things are nice, relatively. Yeah, it is a nice house, relatively. But ultimately, to distinguish good or bad should be on the basis of whether it can be used for Krishna or not. Because otherwise, what's the ultimate value of that house and that family? They misused their house and their lives. So how could that be good? And if you have a little hut and you have deities and you worship Krishna, then your house is better than the mansion in Beverly Hills. Right? From the spiritual point of view, you have a better house. And you can see that spiritually, that the people in the hut are happier than the people in Beverly Hills. If the people in the hut are worshipping Krishna, they're happier than the people in Beverly Hills who aren't worshipping Krishna. Yes?
Yeah, from childhood we have been hearing like serving needful person is like serving God.
Mm-hmm.
But here we say like you have to serve Krishna only.
Yeah. If you're serving, it's the same principle. You just apply the same principle to anything. So we can apply it to this point. Okay, I'm serving people who need help. How can I connect that to Krishna? I give them Krishna prasadam. I give them knowledge. Okay. I give them clothes, I give them food, like that. But now that they have clothes and food, now what? How can I help them advance spiritually? So yeah, you're a grihasta, you can help poor people, that's nice. But ultimately you want to connect it as best you can. Now, like in the Bhaktivedanta Hospital, they have a spiritual counseling department, so the people that come there, they get spiritual counseling. And a certain percentage of those people who come there end up becoming Krishna conscious, because they're being taken care of. So, a vision of a bhakta is how I can help people in the highest way. So yeah, you will hear growing up in India that you should help people because that's pious. And then the understanding is if you help them, you'll be helped. Because you can never help somebody and not reap benefit yourself, karmically. And you can never not hurt someone or take from someone and not reap negative karma. So your parents are saying do this because they know it'll be good for you. Are they saying it to help the people, or are they saying it because it's good for you? A lot of times they're saying it because it's good for you.
Yeah.
Right? You know? So again, it's all about the motive and what you think. You know, say, okay, go help the poor. What's the motive? Well, I'll be helped if I help the poor. Okay, it's still material consciousness. So it's not. So you're helping the poor. So that means in your next life people will help you, but it hasn't really brought you to spiritual life. Maybe it would make it would be, because you're doing pious activity, you might be more open or receptive, or it would be easier for you to do spiritual life because you're already used to giving, but it doesn't mean you'll do it. If the consciousness is wrong, then you won't do it. You won't be open to spiritual life. So you see, everyone's in that consciousness. It's about me. And you, like we were saying, you bring it all the way up to the spiritual level where they're doing austerity and meditation, but it's still about their own liberation. Prahlad Maharaj says that in the Bhagavatam. He said the sadhus, they're doing their meditation and tapasya, but they're doing it for their own liberation. So who are they doing it for? I don't want to suffer, therefore I'm doing this. So I'm doing this austerity, I'm worshipping God and whatever, I'm doing puja, it all looks the same, but I'm doing it to get out of suffering. I want liberation. So it's still the same mentality, it just comes out differently, externally. So they're transcendentalists. Transcendentalists are better than fruitive workers, right? Considered higher. But still, the mentality is wrong. And that's what Prahlad Maharaj said. He said, they go off to meditate to save themselves. It's not a high consciousness. It's higher than the fruitive worker, who's going out, perhaps exploiting people or working very hard to get ahead. They've renounced the world. They've understood what's wrong with it. So they're smarter. But now they're just doing it ultimately for the same reason. It's very nice you're doing charity. Why are you doing it? So I'll get piety. I'll get punya. So, what does Krishna say? That's not even charity in the mode of goodness. That's charity in the mode of passion. Right? If you read the Gita, Krishna describes charity in different modes. And so the charity when you want something back, that's passion. If you study anything about wealth building, go to any seminar, read any book on wealth building, one thing they'll always tell you is donate, give money. Always donate. Because if you don't, you won't get it. You won't become wealthy unless you give money. They all say that. So now, all these, I guess I should go to the wealth building seminar and say, hey, I have a non-profit you can give to me. I should just sit there and become. But anyway, so now all these people are giving in charity. Why are they giving in charity? So they can get rich. You know that, you're from India. Why do people go to a temple? Offer some money, offer some puja, because they want something. It's an investment. It's not love, it's an investment. Love is when you give. You give. And we're so conditioned by this that we'll love our kids as long as they give back, and if they don't give back, we don't love them. I don't want you, leave the house. I spent all this money on you, and now you're not giving back. Get away, I don't want to see you. Right? Even with our own children we might do that. I invested so much time and money in you. I want you to be an engineer, and now you're going off and become an English professor. You'll never even get a job. I wanted you to support us when we were older. This is useless. And you married this girl from another community. I never wanted you to do that. So we can't hardly even love our own children if they don't pay us back for our investment, right? That's how we're raised. That's conditioning. So now we become Krishna conscious with all that conditioning. It's pretty hard just to love Krishna. But I'll give you a good reason. You want a good reason out there? I mean, you're out here. I'm looking at the computer. You're over there. You want a good reason? Because Krishna will give 100%. It's like, why should I surrender to Krishna? Because He'll surrender to us 100%. He'll give 100% if we give 100%. He's waiting to give 100%. I don't know if I could give 100%. I don't know if I'll be happy. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I want to. And Krishna's waiting to give 100%. How does that make you feel? He's waiting, ready to give 100%, and we're thinking, I don't know. Interesting, isn't it? So we're coming with this conditioning. It's all about me. How do I feel? What am I going to get out of this, right? Especially if you come from a business background, you're always thinking about what are you going to get, right, for your investment. I'm going to do this, what am I going to get? What am I going to get for my customers? What am I going to get on my investment? What's in it for me? That's how we think. The Brahmins don't think that way. Brahmins they give. That's Brahman consciousness, is you give knowledge. Whether people pay you or not, you give. That's what you do, that's Brahman. But most people are not Brahmins. It's all about, what do I get? Right? So we've been well trained that way, and then we come to Krishna consciousness. How do we think? Will this make me feel good? Will I like this? Will it make me happy? Right? I don't know if I want to do this because it may not make me happy. I don't know if I want to surrender. It may not make me happy. I don't know if I can give that up. It may not make me happy. That's what we're dealing with. But at least we want to understand what the goal is and work towards that. And understand the goal is that we serve Krishna to please Him out of love. And that's how we should chant our rounds.
Isn't the goal to go to spiritual world?
Isn't
the goal is to go to spiritual world?
Very good question. He's asking, isn't the goal to go to the spiritual world?
Yeah, right. Because I feel like at the end it becomes the same thing, right? It's self-benefit. We always think about that, right?
Yeah, that's not the goal. The goal is to love Krishna. And Krishna, if you're on a lower stage, then you'll want to go. And that desire to go to the spiritual world is better than the desire to go to the movies, for sure. Right? You go to Disneyland. Well, if it's a choice between going to Disneyland and going to the spiritual world, take the choice of going to the spiritual world. That's a better desire. That's a higher desire. But it's not pure. Pure desires, I want to love Krishna, serve Krishna. That's it. Spiritual world, material world, wherever He wants me to go, that's it. That's pure devotional service. So, when there's a desire for liberation, it's called Jnana Mishra Bhakti. You take bhakti, add some gyan. Gyan means knowledge by which I can become free from material entanglement. Liberation means free from suffering. I'm out of the body. I'm liberated, free from sinful reaction. All right. But you know that's temporary. You come back. So let's say I give Damodar a briefcase. In the briefcase there's $1 million. So I give it to him. He's holding on to the briefcase, and I say, Damodar, when you leave, make sure you leave the briefcase. So he's a millionaire for an hour. Right? So you can be liberated, for a few 100,000 years or whatever, however long it is. But you have to come back. So what's the point? You're still, now you're broke. You're back to where you started. So many people do spiritual life for that reason. And so, in the beginning, if your motive is just to get ahead materially, and then we say, there's a spiritual world, you're suffering here, you should want to go there, and then you get the intelligence to understand that, there is a lot of pain in this world, we are eternal, there is an eternal world, I want to go there. That's good. That's a much higher consciousness. And that's where you have to begin, because you won't begin on the pure level. Because if you're only on the pure level, why would you even be here in the material world? You'd be out, or you'd already be very spiritually advanced. So that's a level we start on. You have to start on that level. So we just realize that's the level we're on. But then we can use that and say, okay, that's okay. I'm motivated. I hate this world. I don't like it. People are materialistic. It bothers me. These crowded, smoggy, polluted cities, everything's so bad. I hate it. I just want to get out of here. Okay. That's a good desire. That will motivate you to chant Hare Krishna, to study. It'll motivate you. But it's not the highest desire. Above that is like, I'll stay here. Krishna wants. I don't care. At that point, you're not walking around going, everything's horrible. I don't like it. You don't think that way anymore. Because you don't see everything as horrible, you don't like it. You understand it's temporary, but in your life, everything is Krishna. So there's no difference between non-Krishna and Krishna, it's all Krishna. But we don't see it that way, so we say, oh, this material world's bad. I want to get out of here. I want to go back to Godhead. Yeah. That's good. Because that will motivate you to do things to go back to Godhead. And if you do enough of them, at some point, you won't have a desire to go back to Godhead. You just have a desire to please Krishna. Because you'll realize that's what's love. That is love, and that love is in you. That's there. It just comes out. So the whole point is, if you're motivated to serve Krishna, just somehow or other do it, whatever the motivation is, because it'll purify you. And then when you get purified, you'll want to serve Krishna without motive. Because that's your nature. It'll just come. And all this other stuff is just conditioning. Not like you say your parents raised you to do charity. We've been raised millions of lifetimes. And then you may wonder, and you may wonder also, why we're so conditioned. You know, I'm so proud, or I'm so attached to this or that. It's because it was cultivated in past lives. And some of us just cultivated more of one thing than another. And some of us overcame some things that others haven't overcome. So you come into this life, you've got all kinds of things going on. You know, someone might say, I'm so proud. Someone might say, I'm so attached to money. Someone may say, I'm so attached to the opposite sex. Someone might say, I'm so envious or jealous. So we cultivated all these things. And some of us did a really good job. Like the ones who are really proud did a really good job of cultivating pride. So that's why they have the hardest time. Now, in this life, you're cultivating bhakti, and you're gradually becoming purified of these other things. So if you don't become completely pure, you'll be much further along. And in your next life, you won't be battling so heavily with all these things. But if we continue in a materialistic way, then in the next life, we'll come to spiritual life, and then we'll still be fighting with all these things. Because what we think, foolishly, is we think when we die, the slate is clean. The only thing that's clean is the beginning. What you carry with you, you carry with you. That doesn't get cleaned. Because if it did, that means all the good would get cleaned also. And you don't want the good to be cleaned, right? So the good you get and the bad you get. The only advantage is if you're a devotee, then in your next life, if you get the opportunity to take birth in a devotee family or be with devotees, then you don't have that handicap. It's just clear. You can start. So you don't have to add any more dirt into it. You can just keep the dirt you have and start from the beginning and get the right consciousness and just now continue. So it'll be an advantage. Does that make sense? Otherwise, when you look at your own consciousness and all the things wrong with your consciousness, just try to understand it's just cultivated. It's just things we cultivated in the last life that we carried over. And where you are now spiritually, however much you advance, you carry that over. And how much ever you don't advance, you carry that over also. Right? That makes sense? It's not like accidental. That somebody's humble, somebody's proud, somebody's very attached to something. And say, well, I'm attached because I had a friend and he really got me into this when I was young. Well, why did you have the karma to have a friend that really got you into something? Because that was where you were in your last life. So it just drew you into that situation. I had a friend, he was a sadhu, and he really got me, right when I was 8 years old, we learned all about Krishna, and we learned all the songs. I'd go to the temple every day. Why did you end up in that situation? And why did you get the pure bhakti teaching and not, ended up just worshipping a demigod to create some punya? Because that's where you were in your last life, so you ended up there. I have a question. Sometimes we're trying or imagining that we're trying to release control and trust Krishna. So we raise our hands but just get knocked down to the floor. Probably because, you could say because you didn't surrender and you knocked yourself down. That could be one answer. You were thinking the wrong way. Or that what knocked you down was what was necessary for you to surrender and accept. You just got knocked down, but you shouldn't have. What he's saying is like, you trust in Krishna, you go forward, and then something materially reverses in your life. And you think, well, I surrendered to Krishna, so that wasn't fair. I trusted him, and he pulled the carpet out from under my feet. What we have to understand, Palak, is that anything Krishna does is good for us. We just have to see how it's good for us. He doesn't do anything that's bad for us. So if he pulls the carpet from, as we say, if he pulls the rug from under your feet, it's because you needed it pulled from under your feet. That's why he did it. I mean, what Krishna wants to do, what does Krishna want? You think Krishna wants to go around pulling the rug under our feet, all of us, so we flip upside down, land on our face, our material life crashes, and we're miserable? Think that's what he wants to do? No. But he'll only do that if he needs to. But if he doesn't need to, he's not going to do it. So if that happens, then just think, he's doing it to me because I need it. Right? Like Krishna. Is he going to go to your house today and create all kinds of trouble? Because he thinks that's fun, like little kids? Or like some gang member or something? No. There's no need. But if there's a need, he'll do it. So that's how you have to think. Some need was there. So just think what the need was. What was he doing? What mentality did you have that he was trying to change by creating that problem? That's how we think. Because Krishna's always trying to change our mentality. So if he creates a problem in our life, it's connected to a mentality that he wants to change. So we have to ask, what's the mentality? Right? This happened in my life. It's a reaction. What's the mentality? What created it? That's what I wanted. Right? That's how we should think. Not like, oh Krishna, I surrender to you, and now look at this big mess. In most cases, you created the mess yourself. You just want to blame Krishna for the mess you created. I gave my life to Krishna, now there's a mess. If you didn't create the mess and you gave your life to Krishna, then Krishna's pulling you towards him by messing things up for you. But sometimes we mess him up and we just think Krishna messed him up. I was just listening before we came here, and this conversation about India, and a devotee was asking Prabhupada, why doesn't Krishna come to India and save Vedic culture? And Prabhupada said, you're messing it up. He's not going to get it. You want to mess it up, go mess it up. He's not going to go. He said, why should Krishna save it? And then he quoted a saying, is God your father's servant? Must be a Bengali saying, is God... So his answer was, you mess up something and God's supposed to come and clean it up. He said, he doesn't do that. So you clean it up. If you want to mess it up, he'll let you mess it up. So if we messed up Vedic culture, why is he going to come and clean it up? No, that's what you did. He's already given you instructions how to clean it up. But if you want to mess it up, then he's not going to come following you cleaning up your mess. We wish he would, but he's not. And then the irony is we make a mess and we blame him for the mess. You ever blame God for a mess that you created? See, that's our foolishness. Isn't it? So, okay everyone, it's getting late. I think we're going to stop here. Hope I didn't scare anybody. That wasn't a scary talk, was it? Anyway, just trying to get to the essence here. I hope it's clear what bhakti is all about. And we want to move in that direction, somehow or other. Okay? So, we'll give you a minute. If you have any other questions, we'll see. Shh. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. Thank you all for attending. We'll see you on, I don't know, when we'll see you again? Tuesday night? 8 o'clock? Okay. So now, does everybody understand what pure bhakti is? Because I tried to explain. It's not about how you feel, but how Krishna feels. And if it's about how you feel, you'll always feel good if you're concerned about how Krishna feels. Don't worry, you'll feel good. You won't have to worry. Okay. Hare Krishna to all of you, and we will see you soon. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.